Welcome to the digestive system, the last and final unit for this year. So what you see in the background is an x-ray of the colon or the large intestine. The whiter part over here would be fecal material, poop. All right, so this diagram is a very generalistic diagram of the digestive system, just super overview I'm going to go through. Number one would be the salivary gland, sublingual, because it's under tongue, under lingual tongue. Two would be your epiglottis because it sits on top of the glottis or the opening to the air box so you don't swallow. Every time you swallow, that closes so you don't inhale or aspirate any water or food into the lungs. Three is your liver, real generalistic. Four is the gallbladder. Five would be the duct that takes the bile down to there, so that'd be the common bile duct. Six is your ascending colon. Down below it takes food up, or takes poop now. By the time it gets to the colon, large intestine, it's poop. It's waste. Seven is the cecum, or the first part of the large colon, large intestine, the colon. Eight is your vermiform appendix. Nine up there would be parotid salivary gland. 10 is your submandibular salivary gland, which is under the mandible. So you have 6 salivary glands, 3 pairs of them. And I'll talk about them more in depth later, but they help moisten the food, loosen it up, some hydrolysis action. A little bit of amylase is released too to help break down some starches. 11 is the stomach in general, super general. 14 is the 12 is the esophagus. Esophagus, phago is to eat. 13 is the cardiac sphincter. It's a round muscle which keeps the stomach acids in so they don't go up the throat to give you acid reflux. So a sphincter is a round muscle. It's called cardiac sphincter because the top part of the stomach is really close to the heart, only separated by the diaphragm. Okay, we jump to 19 for some reason. 19 over here would be a descending colon. 20 is the ileum, the last part of the small intestine. 21 is the sigmoid colon, second to last part of the colon, the large intestine. It's got an S shape there at the end, which leads right to the rectum. Darn near killed him. And 23 is the anus. I could have drawn a little line to represent the anal sphincter, which holds your poop in, your feces in until your time to release it. Let's see, where'd 14 go? There we go. Pyloric sphincter is at the end of the pyloric region of the stomach. It keeps the stomach acids in so you don't release them all at once and totally digest your small intestine. There's a tight mechanism that goes on there. Amazing, amazing the way we're designed, where we can digest meat but not digest ourselves, and where it neutralizes it just comes out of the stomach. Just amazing. 15, the duodenum. Duodenum. There's an M at the end of that. Don't know what happened to that. 16 is pancreas. Now, the pancreas looks really big here, but it's not. It's a very thin, leafy looking thing, but it's kind of looks like it's a leaf made out of brown cottage cheese, or light tan cottage cheese. But it's mighty, mighty, mighty pancreas. We are the pancreas, the mighty, mighty pancreas. Pancreas is small. It's tucked under the stomach by some mesentery. You can barely see it when you dissect. But it's an exocrine and endocrine functions. Endocrine because it produces both, that goes into the blood. Endocrine means dumps it straight into the blood system. That's insulin and glucagon. Insulin socks sugar away. Glucagon takes glucose back out. So it helps regulate your blood sugar. Exocrine in the fact it dumps outside the body, that is that whole tube, it dumps out lipase, which breaks down fats, digests fats from glycerols and fatty acids. Nucleases, which break down the nucleic acids we eat. That means any living thing we eat has nucleic acid, RNA and DNA. Amylase, which breaks down the carbohydrates. And finally, proteases, like chymotrypsin and trypsin, which break down small peptides into smaller amino acids. So the pancreas produces a lot of very necessary enzymes. Super important. Now I say those are exocrine functions. It dumps them outside the body. Remember back in September I told you that from the mouth to anus, that tube is outside the body, kind of like a donut. You grab a donut, You put your finger and thumb through that hole, that's still outside the donut. But you stack up 50 of those donuts, and that big long tube is still outside the donut. That big long tube from mouth to anus is still outside your body. Sphincters pinch things off and allow you to excrete, like the stomach excretes hydrochloric acid outside it, and it does not degrade itself because it also secretes mucus to protect it. It's an amazing system. All right, moving on. 17 is your transverse colon, means it goes across. 18 is the second part of your small intestine called the jejunum. It's not just jejunum, that's boring. It's jejunum. And I think, where's duodenum? Yeah, duodenum's up there, first part of the small intestine. I think that's it. Okay, so here it is, the big picture, a little bit better in the diagram, nice and colored for you to look at. I like this diagram, so you can always pause and look at this stuff. Please learn this stuff, understand it. It's your body. You live with it all your life. All right, phase of digestion. The first phase of digestion. I ask people this, and they say, oh, it's eating, it's chewing. No, it's thinking about it. You think about food, you start salivating, your stomach starts churning. You know, my stomach's rumbling. Yeah, it's cephalic in the brain. You think about it, and that kicks off the digestive system. You're producing a lot of salivary amylase, saliva glands. Your stomach's starting to produce, getting ready for it. Then there's physical digestion. That is mastication, chewing. The art of using those teeth to cut, to slice, to rip, to chew, to grind your food where it has more surface area. That's the physical part of digestion. That's mastication. And then you have, after mastication, you swallow, which is deglutition. That's really not digestion, but it's swallowing it, moving it down to the stomach, which is your gastric phase. Gastric means stomach. Remember gastropod from freshman? Pod means foot. Gastropod are those things which walk on their foot. That is like snails, slugs. So gastric phase is stomach, the hydrochloric acid, the pepsin, major protein digestion right here. You eat meat. How does that digest meat but not the stomach? Amazing. Fourth phase is intestinal. That is in the intestines. So the intestinal phase inhibits stomach secretions. There's some negative feedback going on. It says, whoa, stop the stomach secretions because we need to work here. We don't need acid coming in. Simply amazing. All right, digestive tract, the alimentary canal. The alimentary canal is from mouth to anus, okay? The GI canal, gastrointestinal canal, is from the stomach and large intestines only. Gastro, stomach, intestinals. Okay, digestive tract extends from the mouth to the anus. That is your alimentary canal. Again, like I said, a donut hole, it's outside your body. It's amazing to think that. It's like, how does a body, when you're forming in the mama's womb, decide, okay, we're going to put sweat on the outside of the body, keep us cool, but let's put hydrochloric acid only in the stomach to digest meat. It's amazing. Think about it. You are wonderfully designed. So general anatomy again, teeth, the tongue. Tongue's a muscle. It helps us push food backwards without biting your tongue. I'm telling you, the body is amazing. Some mandibular glands, which are salivary glands, parotid salivary glands. The oesophagus, that's the English spelling, so you can see I stole this from some British website. The liver has a couple lobes. It's all good to eat, but don't eat the falciform ligament, which separates the liver from right and left hats, because the liver itself is very rich. It's got a lot of blood because it filters the blood out, toxins. But the falciform ligament right down the middle is connective tissue. It's not good to eat. So cut that out. Eat the liver and onions. It's good. All right, hepatic duct. Hepato refers to liver. So that takes the bile down to meet the common duct. So the hepatic duct takes the bile from the liver to the gallbladder. Gallbladder stores the bile. Bile is amazing. It's like Dawn dishwasher soap. It emulsifies. It doesn't digest, but breaks lipids down to smaller lipid molecules. A lot more surface area, so by the time they hit the small intestine, then the pancreas produces lipase. Anything in A's is an enzyme. And the lipase then breaks the lipids down into individual fatty acids and the glycerol. All right. So I love this diagram. It's a beautiful diagram. Okay. Organic compounds that are digested. Remember freshman biology again. Carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. Those are organic compounds, and they're all digested by your body. It's amazing. All right, carbohydrates. We have sugar versus fiber. Sugars, well, monosaccharides are the simple sugars we think of. Fiber is the carbohydrates which are bound in a way that we don't have enzymes to break them down. So, like peas and corn, swallows whole, guess what? They're going to come out looking like that because we don't have the enzymes to break those down. Grass, yeah, we can't eat grass. Cows do because cows have several stomachs, and in those stomachs they house a lot of bacteria which actually do the digesting for them. They break these fibers down to sugars. All right. Carbohydrates are our first energy source. They're the brain's main energy. When you're feeling like, carbohydrates picks you up. Yes, because the brain uses a lot of the first amounts of oxygen and carbohydrate sugar in the blood. It Your brain is the control center of the body, okay? So carbohydrates, first energy. Starch versus cellulose. Starch is like potatoes and pasta and stuff that will slowly break down over a long term. So our body's constantly digesting it and breaking it down, breaking off sugars, constantly putting sugar into the bloodstream. Cellulose, it's got different bonding patterns that our enzymes cannot break. So cellulose is undigestible sugars, basically starches. Well, not starch because they call it cellulose because they're sugars bound together, which we can't break those bonds. Our enzymes can't. So is it still there in the end? Yes, it is. Corn, it's a cellulose. All right, salivary amylase and pancreatic amylase, same enzyme, different places. So where does starch digestion begin? In the mouth, in the saliva. Pancreas produces more amylase to further break down any carbohydrates to monosaccharides. Mono means one. Single sugars like glucose, fructose, mannose. Okay, so all these simple sugars breaks them down so we can absorb them and use them. Protein, remember the building blocks of protein are amino acids, and those are used for energy during starvation. The last thing we use, this is after lipids, we use proteins. So people who are like really fasting for a long time or have problems, mental problems, they just don't eat, they're burning down proteins. This is digested mainly in the stomach, first of all. The hydrochloric acid activates the pepsin. Pepsin breaks it down like crazy. At a wonderful lab I do, oh, I could explain it to you, but it'd take me 15 minutes to explain. But it's beautiful to see that it takes this combination of hydrochloric acid and pepsin to break down protein. Otherwise, it's not going to be digested. Our body had to come up with a lot of mechanisms at once to digest. Wonderful design. The small intestines also then have enzymes from the pancreas, the mighty pancreas, the trypsin, chymotrypsin, and carboxypeptidase. Three proteases from the pancreas which break the peptides, the smaller proteins, down to their amino acids. Lipids then are our second source of energy. They're a long-term energy source. So saturated versus unsaturated. Saturated fats means are saturated with hydrogen bonds. Okay, you take vegetable oil, it's unsaturated. It's liquid at room temperature. You bubble in hydrogen and bam, you got margarine. Okay, so margarine is not good for you. Butter is actually better for you than margarine. So the saturated, not good fats to eat. Unsaturated, not a lot of those hydrogenated vegetable oils. That's not bad. It's got a lot of calories per gram. Okay, when we say calories, we really mean kilocalories. You know English and you know your chemistry, your physics, your physical science. It's a long-term energy storage. It is digested, bile emulsifies it, then pancreas produces lipase, zaps it. All right. Two main groups of digestive organs. One is the alimentary canal, that is everything: mouth, the pharynx, the esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, anus. The accessory structures are things which supposedly don't touch the food, even though the cheeks do. Cheeks kind of move it down. Teeth chomp it up. The tongue pushes it back. The salivary glands produce the saliva. The liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas don't touch the food directly, supposedly. Okay, they don't break it down. And as a baby, you have average 20 baby teeth, 32 adult teeth on the average. know this. This ends part one of many parts